Hey, all you guys, gals, my non-binary pals. I am Jerry, and I left MAGA. And welcome back to my channel. This is just going to be a quick little channel update. I had to make a few notes yesterday because things have been crazy and the brain's not working its greatest lately. A lot of weather pattern stuff here in the Midwest. I wanted to do this outside, y'all, but it's like New Orleans out there, man. It's hot, it's humid, it's just downright sticky. Um, which reminds me, be kind to your big boobied friends. That's just a caveat. Anyway, I'm trying to work on towards getting some neurological treatments taken care of for my leg issues, which will in turn help with all the other inflammation issues that I'm dealing with. I'm having to wait for the VA to send some civilian doctors the information they need so I can move forward with that. I've recently posted on Facebook. Hang on a moment and I'll pull up the list. Oh, shoot, fire. I don't have my phone directly handy in front of me. Or maybe no. My cat's laying on it and she's refusing to let me have it. Anyway, if you'll go to the leavingmaga.org website, or if you'll follow us on Facebook, you'll see that we've got a bunch of billboards going up all across the country. Um, and then I've got a sandwich board that I'm going to use locally. It's out in my car right now. I've got some summer stuff planned on doing. I got this whole schedule. My girlfriend, my partner, uh, she gets a summer break like other teachers do, even though she's not. It's complicated. She works with a couple of schools, and so there's that whole summer schedule. And I really appreciate having my time with her. She has to put a lot of work in at the church with doing the music ministry over there and everything else that goes with that. So she's incredibly busy, which makes summertime so delightful. We have a vacation coming up after, let's see, in August. Yeah. And I went and got a consult done on getting some tattoos covered up. I'm wanting to get rid of this artwork, if you want to call it that. I'm going to end up with a sleeve, elbow to wrist. It's going to be kind of cool. I went and talked to Ben today over at Alchemy Tattoo Collective here in St. Louis. I'm going to give the artist a whole lot of freedom with this project because I mean he's a cover-up artist. Why not? I'm going to include links in the description to a series I did a couple of years back, which I think is still relevant. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. It's a 4-part series that I did as part of my deconstruction whenever I was originally trying to recruit other folks to join me in leaving MAGA. Some joined me, not as many as I had wished. It was as much a labor of love directed to my dad as anything. But I'm also not the only individual out here who's dealing with this complications. So I hope that these articles are beneficial for others. Anyway, mental health matters. That's another reason why I've been making a whole lot of videos lately. I'm really having to reconsider or consider my mental health and my physical well-being moving forward with this work, especially with as many irons as I have in the fire. So this is going to be interesting in moving forward. There's Man, I don't know how much, I can't say too much right now, other than Rich over at Leaving MAGA. He and I have been requested to appear as guests on a podcast. More information on that later. I'll link the video. I'll link to the video that inspired that podcast to reach out to us. But that's still in the earliest stages of the conversation. So my enthusiasm is dampened a little bit. I know that this is going to work, but it's and I'm more enthusiastic about working with this particular podcast than some of the other past attempts that I've made. So yeah, I really appreciate the Leaving MAGA family. Um, it's provided me with a space to where I can work through some of my frustrations with other people that may or may not understand them directly. Um, really, cat? Really? You're not gonna nail pop? You ornery feline. Anyway, yeah, I'm playing with nails. We're really enjoying playing. I don't know if you can see that. It's better in the daylight. It's a gold tiger's eye, and it looks kind of like a glitter bomb went off on my fingernail. I did my girlfriend's, all 10 of hers today. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing that. Creative outlets. Creative outlets aren't a bad thing. Anyway, yeah. So, where was I before my cat distracted me? Yeah, that's kind of how life is, right? You think you're on a course, and then there's a distraction, and you lose your train of thought. Anyway, so yeah, she just miscalculated her descent also. Anyway, so there's a little chaos inside the house as well as outside the house. That's just a perfect analogy with cats, right? All right. I have been rambling for just about 7.5 minutes. So I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to hook you up with those links to those 4 articles that I wrote, as well as the conversation that Rich and I had, which was promoted by Midas Touch Network. I do appreciate being a part of their family. And just like with any other family, we don't always agree on things. Oh, that's what I was saying about leaving MAGA. We don't necessarily agree on things on why we left MAGA. The answers for that are as diversified as its membership. Some of us left because it was one lie too many. That happens to be the name of Rich's book, by the way. I haven't read it yet, but I did just finish listening to April Joy's Star Spangled Jesus with my progressive Christian preacher kid partner, and she found it incredibly educational, and it kind of gave me a better idea of how I should approach my own deconstruction story. It should definitely be a lot more personal rather than academic, which is exactly what my deconstruction was. I had been constructed very, very particularly, and so it required a lot of effort. It required a lot of effort to tear down those barriers to reality. Starting with the rapture, and then all the fear that goes with that. The fear of going to hell, the fear of losing your family forever, the fear of disappointing God. But oh yeah, our God is not a God of fear, right? So from early onset, there was a lot of contradictions going on, but I wasn't allowed to question. All right, so yeah, that's where I need to get off for the moment, because I am not structured right now to just like really address that. Um, Mental health matters. I do want to talk about this. I just, yeah. I can hold, I can hold a lot of spite towards the things that I was taught. I can hold a lot of spite for a lot of different things. But there are some things that I have talked about in private. There are some things that I've talked about with friends that honestly, at the moment, I'm just not ready to put on camera. Not by myself. Which is another reason why I appreciate the Leaving MAGA community. It does give me a place where I can do some processing. Because, yeah, despite the fact that I have been through some nasty stuff, despite the fact that I have survived some nasty stuff, there are some folks out there who had it way worse than I did, and they survived it. But just because you've survived something doesn't mean it's normal for the rest of the world. It doesn't. It just doesn't. It doesn't mean that it's normal for everybody else because it's your experience. And that's one of the things that frustrates me with a lot of people. A lot of people themselves haven't been allowed to grow. And so they find it uncomfortable when others around them start to grow or when they're confronted with growth. I mean, I've said it. Okay, I'm going to ramble for a little bit longer. I've said it before. And just a couple of days ago, I got into a conversation over on pills. And I know it's not going to, at this point, it's just a morbid curiosity. And every now and again, I just feel compelled to kind of poke around a little bit. But I had somebody challenge my former MAGA credentials, and they're like diehard Trump fans, dude. And I had to inform them that I was MAGA 40 years before Donnie showed up on the scene. I was I wasn't politically aware enough when Nixon got impeached. I was still in single digit age, right? And uh, so that didn't directly impact me. It didn't mean anything to me. I was just a kid in school, you know, having fun with his friends. And then Carter became president. Well, then there was that whole Gerald Ford thing. And then Carter came around. That's around the time the moral majority was born. And it was within a couple of years after the moral majority was born that within a year or two that my dad met this Marine who was a combat convert to Christianity. Um, that started our journey into the Assemblies of God Church. Very authoritarian structure. It's particularly built around the whole concept of self-denial. I mean, they tell you that God is a perfect creator, and yet when a human is going through pubescence, when they're going through these hormonal changes. Now, I don't know what it's like for the girls, but for me, like most other guys, it was a very confusing thing. My body was doing stuff that I didn't understand, but you know, I could accept that it was just temptation that was given to me, and I could accept that masturbation was considered a lesser sin than premarital sex or extramarital sex, and that's I'd get a get out of jail free card for just by asking for God for forgiveness because I goofed up again, rather than just actually understanding the biology of human development. That would have been a much that would have been a much better way to transition my young self into a real world environment. So even though I have an academic background, even though I have an engineering background, it took a lot of evidence. It took a lot of fact-based evidence for me to actually go, oh shit, I was wrong about that. So what's the facts? I mean, obviously it wasn't ancient aliens. So what happened here? Yeah, yeah. It required me asking a lot of questions. And I had to allow myself to accept those answers. I had to be comfortable with allowing myself to accept those answers. I also had to become comfortable with questioning the answers that I found to validate that those answers are correct, right? And so, yeah, it took me a lot of work to unlearn the bad stuff and relearn the good stuff. And it's all because I was introduced to it at a very young age. So, yeah, I'm looking out here at the world and I'm seeing what's going on. I've got my frustrations like anybody else does, but what's able to help facilitate a person's healing, an individual's healing, is getting that space where they're allowed to talk about things and question things. So, yeah, I'm not exactly sure where I'm landing with this, other than to say community is important, and to get to that community, you may sometimes have to lean on the aid of one generous human being who can help introduce you to an entire community that already exists, that's willing to accept you, which is what happened with my partner and Amy and my entrance into the Gethsemane Lutheran Church community. I love these people. They do really solid work. They're good humans, and that's what I most appreciate about them. And they appreciate me for also being a good human. And this was another thing that made it easy for me to transition into giving a part of my life to the Leaving MAGA organization. I believe in what we do. I believe in providing a safe healing space for people, and whether that's leavingmaga.org online or something in your neck of the woods, your neighborhood. For me, through Gethsemane, I'm trying to help cultivate something that I want to call Respite Harbor, a part of our homeless outreach. I'm also trying to work on cultivating some concepts around ecumenical cooperation to better serve the homeless community. Why do we have to bear the load in our neighborhood? Why can't we work with other people that already have established systems? Why do we have to take the time to look at them and create our own learning curve? So, yeah, ecumenical cooperation. I don't know where that'll go. I don't know where that'll go, but I have some hope for it. Addressing that topic definitely has provided an opportunity for a larger conversation, just like the one that the Presbyterian Church of America just had. I was rather impressed to find out, and I'll try to remember to stick the link for this down below too. Um, the Presbyterian Church of America has denounced Christian nationalism. A conservative, think about this for a moment. A renowned or beloved or how whatever, anyway, the Presbyterian Church of America, a conservative denomination, not a dominionist denomination by any stretch of the imagination. On the surface, I'm splitting hairs here. Okay, what I'm trying to get at, I don't want to bury the lead. Um, the Presbyterian Church of America has denounced Christian nationalism. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I was asked, so what information? Do you know what information they used to reach this conclusion and to denounce Christian nationalism? I'm like, I don't know. Could have been the Seven Mountains Mandate in parallel with studying Project 2025. It might have been them looking at the America First Policy Institute or Project Esther, or I don't know. There's a whole mountain of information available out there to them. I just think it's amazing that the Presbyterian Church of America allowed themselves at management level, okay, at management level, to openly carry on a dialogue as to whether or not Christian nationalism is a good fit for their brand. I and they said no, it's not. We can be conservative, we can be all that, but we don't need to be that bad. So yeah, okay. So I've got some hope for the future. When a conservative denomination denounces Christian nationalism, there's hope for the future. So anyway, wow, that was a whole lot to unpack. I did not know I was going to go this deep, but that's the thing about um, uncorking a channel update, I guess, and just like letting things flow. Um, yeah, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate your patience. Um, Dan Carlin, a historian that I have admired for literally decades. All right, literally decades. I have admired the work of Dan Carlin because he's such a studious historian, and he uses such a clear anthropological lens when he's looking at World War II history. He's going into people's letters. He's reading their diaries. He's reading he's reading history through the eyes of the people who lived it. Not what was presented by journalism. Not what's been presented through some propaganda lens of some sort or another, but actually using the words of the people who were trying to make sense of the world that was unfolding around them. Which I have to admit, I feel honored. I always feel honored when somebody tells me I sound like Dan. But anyway, um, hardcore history, good stuff. Um, I'm running on empty now. That's a lot to unpack. I know there's a whole lot more in there. Um, it's just I think for the time being I've exhausted everything that's been floating around in my brain. Channel update? I don't know what direction this channel is taking. I just know I'm doing a whole lot of work in the real world. I'm trying my darndest to make life better for the people that I know, for the people that I interact with, for the people that I live around. These are my methods for working amends for making so many horrible decisions in the past. And I know that was an appropriate time to chuckle, and so is this. But trauma laughter is a thing. Um, yeah, dark humor. It's a survival tactic. It's way healthier than heroin. Trust me. I've never done heroin, but I've seen it ruin people's lives. So I don't need to try heroin. It's a weird caveat to make. Anyway, um, yeah, folks, take care of yourselves so you can help take care of each other. Get the rest you need. Try to make sure you get plenty of fluids. For God's sake, please remember mental health genuinely matters. So, um, until I find the brain space, the time, and the energy all converged at the same juncture, and when I get back to the Project 2025 training videos, I will. But until then, yeah. All right. Thanks for listening to this ramble, this rant. I'm just a frustrated old unicorn. Anyway, check y'all later.